So if you're looking for an internship and you want to get qualified coming into the workplace and hit the ground running, stick with me here. This is John Becker with Proud Prospecting, if I can speak today. And these are things that I wish I knew coming out of high school or college that I get to tell you now. So if you want to get an internship and get qualified in college or high school, it's actually less complicated than you'd think, much, much easier than you'd think. So I would say you're probably going to want to avoid applying for the big name places where everybody and their brother wants to go there. Why? Because people like brand names. Okay, all the people with the 4.0 GPA want to go work at IBM. They want to go work in a Silicon Valley company, whatever it might be, right? But there's tons of companies out there that are kind of the average company, or maybe even a good company that's less well known publicly, that have internships that don't get a ton of applications. Personally, when I was hiring an internship, geez, must have been 3.5 years now. I was in a pricing role, pricing analyst, and I could not find a business graduate or somebody in college that wanted to do an internship. I ended up hiring a guy that was in college for IT, which was fine. Why not? He had fun. It was nice working with him. He was pretty bright and sharp on like coding and everything, which I was doing some of, so that was helpful. But the reality is, people aren't applying for these as much as you'd think, especially if you're looking at stuff right toward the end of the school year and like early summer. I think we hired this guy to be an intern at the end of May, and he was with us for like 2 or 3 months, right? Well, those positions, surprisingly not as packed as you'd think. By the time people get out of high school or college and the summer's already there, they have a plan on what they want to do. If they don't have an internship, a lot of people aren't even looking. They're just like, they've resigned themselves to not do anything because initiative is hard to find. People just aren't out there gunning as much as you think they are. So go out and apply, especially if it's close to the summer. Like you think, oh, too late in the year. Never too late in the year. Okay. Second thing, when you do apply for an internship, just think about the variation between candidates for competitiveness. Everybody is going to college, everyone's got a GPA. Your GPA doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things. Why? Because the odds that the hiring manager that's going to hire you for that had a 4.0 GPA, and they're going to look at you and go, oh, look at the peasant, new, very, very low. I would say if your GPA is anywhere between 2.9 and 3.5, you have a fighting chance at getting an internship somewhere. Okay. If you're above 3.5, that's where people start qualifying into the, I might be competitive at the brand name companies for internships, but you're not going to be classed out of that one. Now, resumes and whatnot we'll go into separately, but I'm just saying for the record here, you can still get one regardless of what time frame you're looking. Okay, it's not that hard. Also, I would say if you are looking at an internship and it's a little bit further driveway than you'd like, and I mean like 45 minutes versus a half hour, take it. Why? Because when you come out of college, if you don't have an internship or some sort of experience, and we'll go into that in a second, on your belt, you're going to be looking at very, very base wage. I could take anybody who's been in the workplace in any job, and they'll be above you on office skills. They're going to be ahead of you on general understanding of how to communicate. They're going to be ahead of you on a bunch of stuff, even if the job they've had isn't very applicable. So why would you not want to get anything under your belt? Okay. So take it if you can take it. Second thing, and this isn't universal, but I would say that if you got a job working within the field that you're looking to work in after high school or college, even if it's not an internship, that's just as good as having an internship. Okay. Why? Because what an internship is giving you is experience in the field that suggests that you have something coming in and it's not going to be as rough of a time integrating you into the workplace. Okay. That's really all it is. Now, if you have specialty internships for specialty positions like, a banking financial internship, okay, fine. You're not going to be able to find a job working at Wells Fargo and say, hey, I have banking experience in investment banking. We all get that, right? That's kind of obvious. But let's say you're looking at going into supply chain. You want to be a purchaser. Why? Because your father or your uncle is and you think it's cool. Okay, cool. Well, guess what? Purchasing people line up transportation and shipping for products they buy more common than you'd think. So if you got a job working as a coordinator in a warehouse receiving product, A, you're going to get to work with receiving product off of purchase orders, purchasing. B, you're going to learn about how the transportation and freight works. So when you come out of the high school or college experience you're in right now, and you go apply for a job, And they say, well, how are you qualified for this? Well, I've done receiving and shipping work, which means I've seen product coming in. I know what to look for. I understand kind of the trucking situation, all the paperwork that goes with it, BOLs. I understand how the purchase order structure works, et cetera, et cetera. You'll be way ahead of most people. So even if it's adjacent to what you want, get into it. Whether it's an internship or if it's just a standard job, go for it. And I would say third thing you could do if you can't line either of those up, okay? Because some people are looking for longer term. They won't hire you for summer only. But if you can't get either of those lined up, I would say go out and start a business. It's surprisingly easy to start a business in college, and it doesn't need to be something super profitable. It can be flexible hours. The point is that you've done it. Why? You're going to have to do all your scheduling. You have to do some sales. You're going to have to actually build a skill. You're going to have to advertise probably. You're going to have to track all of your revenue, sales versus, costs. You're going to have to report that in. You're going to have to do the taxes for it. Now that sounds like it's a daunting task, but right now with AI, you can figure out how to file taxes very easily. Okay. You can figure out how to set up a spreadsheet to track your costs versus expenses very easily, regardless of what background you have. High school or college doesn't really matter. With AI, you can get past all of these very basic hurdles pretty easily, and you can just focus on doing the thing you want to do for your small business to get experience. And I would say that's arguably even better depending on what other options you have. So go out there, get an internship, apply. Even if it looks like it's probably too old, people will say, "Oh, the job posting is 30 days old, or it's a month old now." Who cares? I had job postings up for God, probably 20% of the roles that I've hired. I was still interviewing and taking new candidates at 30, maybe 40, even I think once I was had a posting up for like 50 or 60 days before I actually chose to hire somebody. So apply for it. I mean, what else do you have to do? You're in high school or college. You got your whole freaking time ahead of you. Your whole life is just kind of laid out on a board. So go for it. Get the internship. If you can't, get a job. If you can't, start a small business. It's not that hard, and you will 100% promise you benefit from it coming into the workforce later on. Just take the initiative, get started, make it work. Have a nice day. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.